Good evening, everyone. This is Anthony, Wall Street Trader. It is 7:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, October 17, 2021. This is not financial advice. It's educational. Click the subscribe, click the bell, click the thumbs up, share the video with your friends and colleagues who are interested in the greatness of the graph. Twitter.com link below. Let's move into the markets. Here we go. Graph US dollar. Range bound still, kind of, between 82 and 76. I think we're going to still be here for just a little bit more. But I'm going to zoom out for a second because this is the most interesting thing I'm observing. Very recently, it seems like we're getting to a point. And the real tell happened very recently over the last few weeks where we continue to hit these bottoms here. Now starting to make me think we've got a nice resistance line. And that resistance line goes all the way back to the beginning of this year. We also have this, that's the support line down here. But now let's look at the resistance line at the top. We've hit it several times here, a bunch of times very recently over here. So what to do? So we're between here over at 88, and we've got a low of 866. We're kind of right in the midsection of that price action. So I think we're going to be range bound. It doesn't really matter, but I think we'll continue to oscillate for the next couple of days. But you know what? Breakouts are hard to know when they happen, and breakdowns are hard to know too. But you'll know once it passes through. The pass-through point is right around here. This is the pass-through point right now. If it was to break out, it would go over 88, 89 right now. And it would have to go hard. And I'm not talking just like, a wick here, wick there, being over a little bit and coming back down. I'm talking about a proper on, you'll see it flying up. Same thing on the downside. If you see it going down, it will go down properly. It could wick down and come back in. But the main thing here is very simple. We're talking about the graph. What is the graph? It's Web 3.0. It's a core foundational one. This is my second crypto I've ever covered because this was my other elephant in the room. It is kind of a brother or sister to NewsCypher. I'll let you judge which one's brother and which one's sister. But what I do know is that they're both very, very compelling. And I covered one other Web 3.0 technology that I think is also compelling, which is called RLC. We'll talk about. I have another video on that. So right now, these are the three Web 3.0 videos: NewsCypher, the graph, and RLC. And the graph to me is at such a great price right now. I mean, this thing really kind of shot up back here, 270, even as high as 288, and all the way back down here. Now we're down to 77. It doesn't make sense for how this price action ever happens. But if you go to the, if you've researched any of the Web 3.0 trends online, what they're saying is that DeFi has already had its heyday. Over the next 6 months, and we're seeing it already with NewsCypher, but over the next 6 months, we're going to find out that Web 3.0 will likely do much better than DeFi. And why is that? Because DeFis are really more application-based types of technologies. They're like end users that come in and use it. What I'm talking about here are actual infrastructure that would be used by developers to create the next version of the internet. And it's hard to understand what it'll look like because everything's exploratory. But we're talking about a whole decentralized network. It's a lot different than the way we have it today with the internet, kind of these centralized internets. It's a very, very different story. So I think what you'll see is a much different view in the future. But this will be one of those companies. The graph will be one of those companies, in my opinion, that will be one of the major contributors to it. Why? Because they are focused in on data access, as well as curation of data, as well as the speed at which data is accessed. And you need fast data, especially when you're popping over different nodes to get your different data sets and having to deliver that data, right? Just going to fetch it and bring it back and then redistribute it to whoever it's got to go to or whoever's requesting it, that kind of thing. That has to be done very quickly. The world operates at the speed of a dime, so you got to be on the spot when it comes to requests and responses. Just generally speaking, the graph is the graph clearly has a lot of projects going on, and they have a lot of curators now coming online. So we're going to see I think we'll see a lot more momentum in the graph. But I think, again, we're going to continue to oscillate here in between these two lines. Now, let's go over to the graph relative to Bitcoin. We are range-bound right now between 1,300 and 1182. We are at the bottom of the channel, and it felt like this is where New Cipher was. But New Cipher was really at the screeching low. But this is a little similar in that this Bitcoin pair is also at the screeching low. The graph, again, is one of my most valued, one of my bigger positions in terms of altcoins. And I think this one will eventually make its money move. Now, let's go over to Bitcoin right now. And by the way, I think where we could, we really want to pass this channel right now. We're at 1,400. It's a good, 10% above or so. So I'd like to see this thing bust through properly if we're going to start to see real momentum here. But it's kind of range bound right now between 1,300 and 1,184. Bitcoin still on its trajectory. We're back on that zip line up to 80,000. 61,509 is where we're at right now, up around 1%. We had a little bit of a dippy dude today. Went all the way down to 58,900. But I anticipate that we're going to ride sweetly up to 80,000 between now and the end of the year. Cautionary note, though, we do have a Bitcoin futures ETF. It's not the Bitcoin spot ETF coming out. It's the Bitcoin futures ETF. Remember when futures came out for Bitcoin with the CME back in December or so of 2017? Created a bit of havoc in the Bitcoin market. So we got to kind of look at things with, a cautionary approach to this, acclaimed Bitcoin futures ETF. However, the knight in shining armor here is going to be Grayscale. They're coming out with a Bitcoin spot ETF they've actually, submitted for approval to the SEC according to CNBC. So we'll see. It could happen in the next month or so. In the meantime, Bitcoin dominance is here. We're at 45. I think we continue our way up to 60 between now and the end of the year. We're still riding in this channel here very clearly. I'll zoom in, and yeah, here we are back in the channel, back in the upward trend. I think we'll be in that trend for a while. In the meantime, we're getting close to a call. This is the bitter end, November 16th. It's a month away. I think something happens possibly sooner. It might not just be an immediate explosion. Some of this stuff in altcoin land is like a delayed reaction, but it eventually, the fuse probably gets lit, but it takes a little while before it explodes. But in the meantime, I'm out. Talk soon.